let's talk about Claude Code. Now, this isn't just another AI assistant. Think of it more like a brand new, super skilled teammate who, get this, lives right inside your terminal. So let's dig in and see how this thing actually works. All right, first things first, let's be super clear on what this is and what it isn't. Unlike a simple chatbot or maybe an IDE plugin, Claude Code is a full-on command line agent. And the key difference, the real game changer here, is its file system awareness. It can literally read your files, write new code to them, and even run shell commands. So we're not just talking about getting a few code snippets, we're talking about giving an AI the keys to work directly on your entire code base. So you've got this new AI teammate, but how does it actually think? How does it operate? Well, it all comes down to this core philosophy, this kind of continuous loop of thinking and acting that guides every single task it takes on. And here's that loop, the secret sauce, really. It always starts with understand. It reads your request, it reads the project's context. Then it moves on to plan, where it breaks down the big task into smaller, more manageable steps. Next up, it's going to act, using its tools to actually execute that plan. But it doesn't stop there. After it acts, it's going to verify its own work, maybe by running some tests or a linter to check for errors. And finally, and this is so crucial, it will iterate. It adjusts its plan based on what it just learned. It's this constant cycle of doing, checking, and improving that makes it so powerful. So that act step is powered by a set of built-in tools. Think of these as its hands, right? It can read file to understand your code, write file to make the changes, and it can even run bash commands to, say, install dependencies or kick off your test suite. It can also search the web for documentation. Basically, it has the real, practical abilities you'd expect from a developer. All right, enough theory. Let's talk about actually putting this new teammate to work. Getting started is ridiculously easy, and it's all designed to get you up and running in just a couple of commands. For anyone who's ever used Node.js, this is going to look incredibly familiar. Yeah, it's just one npm command to install Claude Code globally on your system. That's it. It's now available everywhere. And once it's installed, it's even easier. You just navigate to your project directory in your terminal and type Claude. That's it. That one word kicks off the session, and your AI partner is ready and waiting for its first assignment. Okay, so you're installed, you're running. Now we get to the most important part. How do you get really high-quality results? Well, just like with any teammate, human or AI, you've got to communicate effectively. And with Claude Code, this really boils down to two main ideas: giving it long-term memory and giving it crystal clear instructions. First up, the long-term memory. This is a simple file that you create called claude.md, and you just stick it in your project's root directory. Seriously, think of this as the project's official briefing document. Every single time you start a session, Claude reads this file first to get totally up to speed on the project, its tech stack, its rules, everything. And here's what that looks like in the real world. You can tell it what your tech stack is. We're using Python and Fast API. You can list out your key conventions, like, hey, we require type annotations for all new functions. You can even drop in common commands for running tests or linting. What this file does is ensure Claude hits the ground running and acts like a seasoned member of your team from the very first minute. Now, for the day-to-day instructions, there's this awesome little framework called Clear. It's just a great way to make sure your commands are on point. C is for context, L is for location, E for examples, A for the action you want, and R is for the result you expect. It's basically a mental checklist to make sure you're not being vague. And trust me, this makes a huge difference. Look at this. A weak prompt is something like, fix the bug. I mean, what does that even mean? But a strong, clear prompt specifies the exact error message, the file and line number, and exactly what the successful result should look like. It's simple. The quality of your input directly, one-to-one, determines the quality of the output. Okay, once you've nailed the basics, you can unlock some serious power. But, with great power comes great responsibility. Giving an AI agent direct access to your system, yeah, that requires some careful thinking. So let's look at the advanced stuff and the security precautions you absolutely need to take. This is where things get really wild. MCP, which stands for the Model Context Protocol, is basically a plug-in system for the AI. You can set up these special servers that give Claude access to external tools. We're talking things like connecting it directly to your project's database or maybe the GitHub API. But, and this is a big but, we have to pause and talk about safety. This quote here is a direct warning from the official documentation, and it's there for a reason.
The tool has an auto mode where it won't even ask for your permission before it acts. Now, that's incredibly useful for automation, but it should never, ever be used against production systems. Seriously, safety first.
And that leads us right into the threat model. You really just need to be aware of two main things. First is prompt injection, where some malicious content in a file could trick the agent into doing something bad. The other is secret exfiltration, where it might accidentally read and then expose something like an API key. The good news is the mitigations are pretty straightforward. You just have to be careful about what it has access to and never, ever put secrets in files it can read. You just have to treat it like the powerful tool it is. So there you have it. That's the deep dive into your new AI teammate. It's an agent that understands, plans, and acts directly on your code, and it learns from your project's specific context. Which brings us to the final question, really. Looking at your own work, at your own projects, what's the first tedious, boring, repetitive task you would hand over?